All right. Hello and welcome to the SnydeReport. I am your host, Gary Snyder. Also with me tonight is the one, the only, Terry Goodin. Welcome.
Well, now, you said the one and the only. It depends on how you look at that, because I do have an identical twin brother. So, so maybe the one out of two. So,
Yeah, I guess I can't say that with you, can I?
I don't know. Maybe technically you probably can, because I am the only Terry Goodin. But but yeah.
Oh, before we get started tonight, we do want to thank our sponsor, Robin Winston. Let's not mess that up since he is the sponsor.
Right, right.
He does a lot and makes sure that this podcast goes each week or each podcast, and make sure helps the newsletter get out to over 100,000 people a day. So thank you, Robin Winston. Well, Terry, how have things been since the last time we talked?
So things are going about the same, Gary. As you know, last time we talked about the avian bird flu, and it, unfortunately, as we said, it's just continuing to spread. So, but now the USDA has stepped up, and they have put in, I don't know how many million there they put in to try to figure out how to stop the spread. So maybe we can get that under control. But we'll talk a little bit about the State of the Union tonight if you want to, man. Or
well,
1
yeah,
minute.
that's why we brought you on, and you know, our chickens are still doing fine.
All right.
Matter of fact, every time my wife, and she had a sick day last time that we were on. Tonight she has a PTO day.
Oh wow. All right. Well,
She walks out of the chicken coop with the eggs each day, holding them up like Simba in the Lion King.
Oh, I tell you though, there's nothing like eggs coming from the backyard chickens. That's for sure.
And you know, we have 5 or 6 that get out of the pen each day, and so it's like Easter every day trying to find those eggs.
Oh wow, cool. So they find their own place to lay, huh?
They do, and sometimes you're like, well, I don't really know how long they've been there, because you don't want rotten eggs.
No.
We had a bunch. We went on vacation and we had a bunch in the back of the coop we didn't see, and we were cleaning the coop out, and my wife's like, why don't you shovel them out? So I get the shovel and I'm backing up with it to put them in the wheelbarrow, and those things start popping.
Oh yeah,
and got all over my face, and I'm like, there's nothing worse than rotten eggs.
No, there's not. If you got cats,
we do have cats.
Cats, throw them out there. The cats love eating them.
Cats are. I'm not a cat person, but we have cats.
Yeah, well, on the farm, if we don't have cats, we have rats. So we have cats.
Oh, well, Terry, last time we spoke, it was about the bird flu, and I guess it's about the Trump flu this time, because, wow, man, he's making me sick.
I'll tell you what, I sat through that 100 minutes of babbling last night, and, you know, he's the president of the United States, so I'm going to give him that respect. I'm not going to do like some other folks and call him stupid or dumb or crazy, or, well, maybe I'll say crazy, but I'm not going to call him all the other things, because I think, you know, the office itself does deserve some respect. But whenever you pull out the bounds and you're not respecting anyone out of that office, then maybe not. That's what some folks have told me. So, well, maybe we shouldn't give him any respect. He don't respect anybody else. So we'll see. We'll go along and we'll see what happens. He's early in his tenure here in his second term, and what we're going to do is you know, last night in his speech, Gary, he talked about DEI. He talked about guys playing girls' sports. He talked about guys using women's bathroom. He talked about the border being secure now. He talked about the best one I thought is he secured the opportunity for us to be able to speak tonight, because he was able to re-implement the First Amendment.
You know, it's amazing how it was just gone.
Yeah, I was thrilled to death.
Before we get into the speech, and I don't know if you've seen this video yet, maybe we'll put it in the SnydeReport tomorrow morning, is that when he was walking in, you had the Congress lady there holding the sign up that said, "This is not normal,"
right
behind him, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And then he starts shaking the hands of the Supreme Court justices that were there, and he walked by Amy Coney Barrett. I didn't
Yeah,
know how
Amy
to say
Comey
her
Barrett.
last. Yeah, and the look that she gave him
Oh, really?
was just a picture is worth 1,000 words, and the disgust, and maybe they just caught her at the wrong moment, but wow, and the disgust on her face when he went by, it was
So it kind of
hilarious.
reminds me of the disgust on my wife's face when she sees something on TV as well. No, but yeah, you're right. It was interesting. I did see that sign, but I also did see that there was a congressman from the other side that reached over and ripped it out of her hands. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I did not see that.
Yeah, so who knows? It was an unusual State of the Union, as they all are. But unfortunately, this, as the sign said, this is not normal, and it's not.
It's I'm watching it last night, and he talked about unelected bureaucrats, and the cameraman at the time, I don't know who it was, but he deserves a raise, because as soon as he started talking about unelected bureaucrats, they switched and got a shot of Elon Musk, and
Yes, that was priceless.
and that was great. But it was what, 100 minutes of well, I don't even know what to say about it. It was nothing but a lot of lies, a lot of half truths. I don't know that there was much truth in the speech. It was very boring. I at about 10:30, I said, I can't do this anymore, and kind of started getting ready for bed. But it was just amazing, lie after lie after lie. And I guess it's, if you lie enough, you can't fact check everything, I guess.
Right. Well, really what it was is what my dad would call, it was called a Twinkie. And we all know what Twinkies are, right? And I said, well, why you call that a Twinkie? He said, man, it looks good. He's got all the presentation. He's got everything together. But when you bite into it, he said, there's no substance. It's all bad for you. And he said, that's what this speech is, and that's what's going to happen under this president, is it's going to be bad.
Yeah, he went through his laundry list of items, had his props up in the gallery, and it was definitely an evening that is very forgettable.
Yeah, it was a political spot. I felt like I was at one of his rallies. I've never been to one, but I got to think
never been to a Trump rally.
Yeah, it's kind of like really, it really took me back to when I was a young man, Gary, on Saturday morning, and I used to watch Saturday morning wrestling, Ohio Valley Wrestling, with Lance Russell and Dave Brown and all those guys, and that's what he wants to be, a professional wrestler, and that's the way he kind of does his presentations. He comes out loud and proud, and he starts bragging on himself, almost like Ric Flair would do if he was on there, So Woo! It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing the parallel between the way a professional wrestler acts and then the way he acts, and it's pretty damning on the similarities there between the way those go.
And he has that down. I mean, he has the look. He has the presentation. He knows what excites his base, and he plays to that. And the base is very receptive and very loud about it. And but once you get past the base, I don't think that was a very well recepted speech last night.
Well, it just continued dog whistle after dog whistle, Gary. I mean, number one, he accused, without accusing. So there's no Democrats that want men to use women's bathrooms. There's none.
Period.
There's no Democrats that want men to play women's sports.
None.
So they just keep pounding that into people's heads to make it look like that Democrats are supporting inequality because we're allowing men who are somewhat more dominant physically than women to play in their athletics and take away. As a matter of fact, he had a lady there that had been hit in the face. You saw that with the volleyball. She'd been hit in the face with a spike, was supposedly from a guy that was dressed up maybe as a woman. I don't know. But they didn't get the whole story, but he had her there. So it was just dog whistle after dog whistle, man. And it was a political speech. And I don't know at what point maybe the leaders of the Democrat Party need to just say, hey, just like I did, we don't think that men should use women's bathrooms. They need to use their own bathrooms.
Riley Gaines was there too, the swimmer who started all this.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how MAGA can take someone that is famous for being a slow swimmer and losing and make her famous. Like, I mean, she's literally famous for being a slow swimmer. And
right. She couldn't compete she couldn't compete, and that's why she got beat. I mean, I don't know all the details, but it wasn't, I don't know.
She tied with, I think it was a tie with a trans swimmer, but there were like 5 other women swimmers that beat her too.
Okay. So, yeah.
It's,
but the way they parallel that though, Gary, they make it sound like she was winning and got tied with this because, so yeah. So, I mean, at some point we're going to have to draw a line in the sand and just say, hey, folks, quit lying about what the Democrat Party stands for. We don't stand for any of that garbage you're talking about.
But where are our leaders saying that? That's the problem.
That is the problem, and that's the void that the Democrats have got to step up. There's got to be a leader that steps up and says that, Gary. And they haven't done it, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're too concerned about everything else with the economy and concerned about making America a better place to live, work, and raise a family, and they forget about the political stuff. But our leaders are going to have to be more political, and you hate to say that, but at that level, they're going to have to step up, and they're going to have to be political dragons, man. They really are, and that's what the other side does, and that's why they've been so successful lately, man. They've become political dragons. They shoot fire, and we know fire is all a lie. When they shoot that out of their mouth, it all comes out as a lie, and we've got to be bigger and better, and we've got to stop it. We got to call them out on it.
And I didn't have much of a problem with Al Green doing what he did. He was standing up. But, if you want to critique Democrats a little bit about what happened last night, number one, stop with the pink shirts.
Right.
I mean, that helps no one.
No.
Number two, put the little bingo cards down. No one cares. It makes you look silly.
Right.
Right. And number three, yes, they used the terminal ill cancer kid up there as a prop, but stand up and clap.
Stand up and clap for that kid. Yeah.
But come on.
So Gary, you just hit it though. There is a true void in leadership there, and Hakeem is better than that. I don't understand I don't know the dynamics of what went on there before or whoever led that charge the way they did that. But I know that probably wasn't Hakeem Jeffries that wanted to do that. I think he may have relented to some other folks, but I thought it was ineffective. I thought that they looked like they had disappeared. And if you can't stand up for some of those things that he talked about and clap and cheer, then yeah, you're playing the same game they do, and that's not good.
I mean, you don't have to sit there and act like fools like the Republicans were doing, but at least, stand up and clap.
Right.
The kid's got cancer, terminal cancer.
Right.
It was a nice gesture to make him a Secret Service agent. Just stand up and clap.
Yeah. God bless the little young man.
Lose the little cards.
Yeah. Gary, I would have done the same thing. You would have done the same thing. What he did was admirable. We would have done it. We would have done something of that nature because that's a sad situation, man. And it's like, hey, let's step forward. But there we go. There's no leadership at that level, Gary, and that's the problem we're having in the Democrat Party. Somebody's got to step up and somebody's got to start talking for the Democrats, and it's got to be, it's got to be someone that's got some common sense and somebody that knows that this is the United States of America. We believe in the rule of law, and we're going to make sure the president follows that rule of law. And they need to be calling him out on anything that he does that's not. And number one, they need to be calling him out on his lies. I know everybody just continues to say he lies to where now it's just the point of, okay, he's going to lie when is he lying? Well, when he's talking,
Right. If his lips are moving, he's lying.
Yeah. But we've got to make sure that we say that every single time that, hey, okay, to begin with, every statement that's about Donald Trump is this. It should start out. Okay, to begin with, we know that Donald Trump never tells the truth. So now let's get into the next level of what he says he might be going to do. But I'll tell you something I didn't hear last night, Gary, that really disappointed me. I didn't hear anything about how he was going to bring down the price of groceries and how he was going to bring down the price of food. I heard about a tariff that he's going to put on, and that tariff, he said he loves farmers. Well, I'm telling you right now, if he loves farmers, he's not going to put a tariff on any kind of farm product, because that will absolutely put every farmer in the United States of America out of business, because we sell all of our goods basically to Mexico and to Canada. That's where the majority of our agricultural goods go. And if we put a tariff on what they do, now they've already said they're going to tariff ours. There's no way that American farmers can compete in that market. And there's going to be a huge, Ross Perot said this back in 2000 or in the 1990s about NAFTA and this huge sucking sound. Well, we're going to be hearing that same sound again, man, in agriculture. And it's going to be going out of America into Mexico and Canada, because they're going to start producing those products that we provide to them at a fair price, and they're going to start producing it cheaper, and we're going to be in trouble.
Well, I mean, when you take a look at the tariffs that he put into effect on China, on Canada, and Mexico, you would think they were our enemies and not our friends.
Right.
And then what he's doing with Ukraine and Russia. And my question, Terry, is how would he act any differently if we knew he was a Russian agent? Everything that he has done would be something that a Russian asset would do.
Right. There's times when you've got to have tariffs. I think at times you've got to protect some of your vital industry, like the steel industry, and place things like that. But I think once you do the tariff, I think you sit down and negotiate, and I think you come in and you got to show some finesse on what those tariffs are going to be placed on. And he doesn't. He just comes in and throws a blanket tariff over everything. And you saw what happened. All the economic markets went goofy. They went nuts, up, down, bouncing around everywhere, and that causes trouble with the dollar. Well, when that happens, then that destroys our buying power as working Hoosiers. We can't buy as much with a cheaper dollar. So it's just aggravating, and it's frustrating. But he's a guy that's never had to worry about trying to make a paycheck to be able to pay the car payment. He's never had to worry about how he's going to come up with enough money to make sure that the electric company doesn't come and shut off the electricity. So unfortunately, the people that are supporting him and think that he's on their side, and he's not. All the actions that he does and shows, it just tells that he loathes poor people, and I don't get it.
Well, and I think last night that he almost had a moment of truthfulness when he said that due to the tariffs, there might be a small disturbance.
Right.
And that caught my eye.
Right.
He's admitting that these tariffs aren't necessarily all they're made out to be, and that you're going to pay higher prices. He got elected on lowering prices, and he's done everything but try to lower prices.
Well, that's what people don't understand is this. A tariff is a hidden tax on the consumer, because the consumer is the one that has to pay that higher price. So what happens is we're paying the tariff. So you and I are going to be paying that tariff. It's not going to be the Canadians or the Mexicans or the Chinese. By the way, he put a higher tariff on Mexico and Canada than he has China. China has a 20% tariff, and Mexico and Canada has a 25% tariff. As you said earlier, he's treating our friends worse than he is our enemy. But it's one of those deals where people need to wake up and realize that these are hidden. This is a hidden agenda, and he thinks he's got people baffled here, man. He thinks he's pulling one over on people, thinking that they don't know that they're going to be paying the taxes, and people need to know that.
He has to a certain extent, because he has a base, and you can see it all over social media today, that believe that the tariffs are going to help us. The price of eggs, the price of milk, loans, trying to buy a house, the price of a car. I saw an interview with a car dealership that said an $80,000 Dodge Ram is now going to be $100,000, probably by the end of the week.
Right.
Well, that doesn't help anyone.
So I caught this in the speech, and I'm just a numbers geek, so maybe nobody else caught it, but here's what I did catch. I caught he did link in a very, very far out distance way the tariffs and then eliminating the debt and making a better economy, because our economy cannot improve if we continue to build on the debt. So what here he's going to do is those tariffs, he's going to use that tariff money to pay down the debt, which that sounds wonderful, right? But that's what all that is they're taxing us. So you and I, once again, are going to be paying down that debt because we're the ones going to be paying the tariff or the price increases on the tariff. And I don't know, people didn't catch that, but yeah, he's going to pay down the debt with these tariffs. But guess what? We're the ones paying down the debt, not the Canadians or the Mexicans or the Chinese or anybody else. It's American citizens who are buying those products.
You know, and at some point you have to realize that a room full of billionaires, which is running our government right now, a room full of billionaires is not watching out for you.
No.
They could care less whether you can go buy a gallon of milk, pay your electric bill, pay your cell phone bill, buy a house. They don't care. They're billionaires because they care about themselves, and that's all they're looking out for. They're not looking out for the middle class. You know, they could care less about Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security. They could care less because they're billionaires. You're not. They're watching out for themselves, not you.
Well, they're better than everybody else, Gary. And the thing about it is when you get into the generational money, they never have felt that pain, like we said before. So they don't know what that's like. So really, they are numb to what's going on. And that's what's wrong with this group now. They're numb to what's going on for everyday Americans. They just don't get it. And unfortunately, there's a group of Americans that are supporting what's going on and allowing it to happen. And at some point, man, they're going to feel that needle. And when they do, it's going to prick, and it's going to prick really hard. And unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of folks that's going to suffer from that. And I just wish and pray that it doesn't happen. But I know it's going to happen because there's just too many people on this bandwagon thinking what he's doing is something great.
You know, they talked today. I think the New York Times put out that they plan on cutting 80,000 jobs from the VA. Those are veterans, helping veterans. 80,000, boom. They're planning on almost wiping out Medicaid. You know, if you look environmentally, he wants to be able to log almost 2 million, over 200 million acres of national forest. You know, you just go down the line, and it's at some point, you know, it's going to hurt people in red states like Indiana more than it is in blue states, because, you know, Indiana, you know, with of 10-20% of everyone that has health care is on Medicaid. 41% of the births in Indiana are Medicaid births.
Yeah.
And those aren't, you know, Democrat voters. Those are your diehard Trump voters.
Right.
Real quick, we're running out of time here, but what did you think of Elissa Slotkin's response? I liked it.
I did too. I thought she did a very good job. She was poised. She put across exactly what she needed to say, and she made, you know, what she did was she wants to make the Democrat Party look normal again, and she did that. And I think that's the kind of message that needs to be out there, Gary. As I said earlier, we don't have a messenger. Maybe she needs to step up and be that messenger, because daggone, she did a pretty good job last night, and I was impressed when she spoke. And I hope that there are other folks that get encouraged by that and step up and start following her lead.
Well, let's hope. Terry, thank you for joining us. Just a little wrap of the State of the Union speech. Want to again thank our sponsor, Robin Winston. Does a great job of supporting our cause and what we do here at the SnydeReport and the SnydeReport podcast. If you look below, I don't know, it's like maybe over here or right here, there's a subscribe button. Here's what we're doing for the rest of this month. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, we're going to give you a free VIP sponsor or subscription to the newsletter. We charge $50 a year for that. So just subscribe to the YouTube podcast page, and you will get a free VIP subscription.
Nice.
Terry,
nice.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, well, I got one thing in closing, man. And
okay.
I don't know if you realize this or not, but we are living in very special times in the United States of America.
We are.
And I don't know if you heard this last night, but we are actually living, we've had a lot of great presidents in our time. We've had George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. We'll just go on through the whole, I don't want to name them all because there's too many. But I just found out last night, according to President Trump, that according to all the history, he's the greatest president that we've ever had. And you know who number 2 was? George Washington.
I've heard that.
I mean, okay, Gary, and that's why I want to close on that. Okay? How in the world could anybody take this clown seriously when he's standing up there saying that he is a more popular and he's a better president than what George Washington was? I just don't get, how can anybody take him serious, man? So with that, I'm going to say, God bless you, man. Thanks a bunch for having me on here. And daggone it, Pepper better be on here the next time around. I'm tired of the excuses, brother.
And I'm just going to give everyone a heads up. Next week on the SnydeReport podcast, we have former Senator Evan Bayh.
All right.
Former Congresswoman Jill Long Thompson.
All right.
And in about a week and a half, we're going to have Congressman Frank Mervan.
Nice.
So we are lining up the guests, and you are in great company, Terry.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it, and keep up the great work, Gary. And once again, thanks to Robin Winston for helping all this take place.
All right. He's Terry Goodin. I'm Gary Snyder. This is the SnydeReport podcast.